What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of King's Creations with Nick. So, as you can see here, we're going to be making some sweet potato cornbread muffins. These things are absolutely delicious. But before we begin our baking, let's drop that intro. All right, so here's the ingredients we're going to be using for today's recipe. As y'all know, I'll always go over the ingredients before we get into baking. And so, just a reminder that all the ingredients and the measurements will be in the description box below. So, starting off, we have some sour cream, we have 4 large eggs, we have whole buttermilk, salt, baking soda, cornmeal, granulated sugar, all purpose flour, baking powder. We have some raw honey, nutmeg, pure vanilla, ground cinnamon, and here in the middle we have some brown sugar, 2 sticks of unsalted butter, and then we have 3 medium sweet potatoes. All right, y'all. So here's the equipment that we're going to be working with today. We have our stand mixer, we have our cupcake baking sheets, some measuring cups, we have a whisk and a potato peeler. So all this is pretty straightforward. All right, family. So the first thing we're gonna do is start preparing our sweet potatoes. And so at the beginning of the video, some of you was probably wondering, do I roast my potatoes and then peel them after they cool off and puree them, or do I boil them? I've done them both ways, and I found that at least to me, it does not make a difference. And so for this video, I'm going to just peel them and rinse them off again, cut them up, put them in the pan, let them boil, and then until they're tender, and then I'll start working with them after that. And so, like I said, you can do it whichever way you want, but what I'm doing here is just peeling my potatoes, and then I'm going to cut them up. Okay, so what we've done so far is that we took our sweet potatoes, we've peeled them, I've rinsed them off for a second time, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them up and place them in the pan that you see there. And so, like I said before, uh, if you choose to roast your sweet potatoes, you're free to do so. I know I did that last year during Thanksgiving. I rinsed my potatoes off. I put them in the oven at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes. And then once they were tender, I took them out and I was able to, the skin comes off very easily. And so I was able to just peel the skin off and start pureeing my sweet potatoes that way. You can do it that way or you can do it this way. And so I think this way is a little bit quicker. And so that's what I'm going to do here. So after we put these in a pan, we're going to fill it up with water, add a little salt to the water, and then allow those sweet potatoes to boil until they're tender. All right, so now that our sweet potatoes are boiling, we're gonna go ahead and start on our dry ingredients. And so here I'm adding in 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and then I'm gonna go in with 2 cups of yellow cornmeal. And so, as I said before, all the ingredients and the measurements are gonna be in the description, so you don't have to memorize everything I'm saying. And so, what we're gonna do is move on to our baking soda. And so, we're gonna add in 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So I'm just searching for my 1 teaspoon measurement, and then I'm just gonna scoop it out and level it off, and then add that contents in there. All right, so that's 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So now we're gonna move on to our baking powder. So we're gonna use 1 tablespoon of baking powder. All right, see there. So we're adding in our 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and now we're gonna move on to our salt. So salt is one of those things you got to be careful with. You don't want to add too much. And so for this recipe, we're going to only add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And so there's my first teaspoon. And then I'm going to search for my half teaspoon measurement and then add that in. All right. So that's our 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And so now we're going to move on to our spices. And that is starting off our nutmeg. So for this recipe, we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of nutmeg. Now, some folks may think that, nutmeg is very strong. You don't need that much. I've tested this recipe multiple times, and I think this is the exact amount that you need. All right. And so here's our cinnamon. And so we're going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. And once again, with these with the nutmeg and cinnamon, if you try this recipe the way that it is and you found that, maybe that nutmeg is a little bit too much, you can adjust this however you want. Just for how I've made them and they've been a hit at all the events that I've taken them to. I think that this is a great balance, but you can, personalize this recipe however you want. All right, so that is our the last of our cinnamon. So I'm just gonna give this a quick stir. And then I'm gonna put this aside, and once our potatoes are done, we're gonna start on our sweet potato puree. All right, so we'll be back with that. All right, family. So we're gonna get started on our sweet potato puree, and then this is personally my favorite part of the process for whatever reason. But anyway, as you see, I already put my sweet potatoes into the stand mixer, and using the whisk attachment, I'm gonna go ahead and allow this to mix for about 10 to 15 seconds. And so now that I've done that, I'm gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl, and then we're gonna start adding in our wet ingredients. And so the first thing we're gonna add is our eggs. And so we have 4 large eggs at room temperature. So you wanna go ahead and add that in, and then you're gonna follow that with 2 cups of whole buttermilk. And this is also at room temperature. So go ahead and add all your buttermilk in, and you're gonna turn on your stand mixer. Get to a low speed just to make sure that you're not making a mess. So allow that to go and get incorporated. And so the next thing we're going to add is our sour cream. And so right here is a half cup of sour cream. Now, sour cream adds moisture to the sweet potato cornbread muffin. And so it's not going to do anything in terms of the flavor, but it will help add moisture. And so that's one of the many things we're going to add to this puree that's going to help the sweet potato cornbread muffin be moist. All right, so now we've added that. We're going to go in. Let me clean my stand mixer real quick. So we're going to go in with our butter. And so this is 2 sticks of melted unsalted butter. So you go ahead and add that in. And then we're going to go in with our honey. So this is a half cup of honey. So honey is going to not only add sweetness to the puree, but it's also going to add moisture to the muffin. And so that's another thing that we're adding to help with the moisture. All right, so go ahead and allow that to mix in for about 10 to 15 seconds. All right, so now that that's done, we're going to add in our pure vanilla. And so with this recipe, we're going to add in 2.5 tablespoons of vanilla. So go in with that first tablespoon, and then I'm gonna look for my half tablespoon measurement and add that. All right, so that's 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla. So now we're gonna go in with a cup and a half of brown sugar and a cup and a half of granulated sugar. And another thing, brown sugar also adds moisture to the sweet potato cornbread muffin. So just keep that in mind. All right, so now that we've added all that, we're going to allow this to mix in for about 20, 30 seconds just to make sure everything is incorporated. And so now our sweet potato puree is done. All right, family. So we're almost done. And so what we have here is that we have our completed sweet potato puree. We have our dry ingredients that we completed earlier. And so all there is to do now is to mix those in. And so as you see, I'm going in with a decent amount of our puree. I'm just going to go ahead and start mixing. And so the consistency that I'm looking for is you don't want the batter to be too thick and you don't want it to be too loose. And so you kind of just judge it. That's why I only add in a certain amount at first, and then I stir and then judge it from there. And so you see, I went in with another amount of my puree, and I'm still just stirring. And as you see, it's still kind of thick, still kind of hard to stir. And so I'm gonna add in some more. All right, and so and sometimes at this point, people will like to add in some orange food coloring to make it more orange. But I think that this color, the way it looks, is just right. You can add food coloring if you want, but for now, I'm not going to add that. And so I'm going to add in just a little bit more of our puree, and I think we're done. And so what we're going to do is line our cupcake pans and get these in the oven. All right, so this is the last step before we put our muffins into the oven. And so what I'm doing here is I'm using a measurement cup, and I'm pouring about I'm filling each cupcake liner about 2/3 way with our batter. And as you can see, the batter, it has that nice burnt orange look to it. And as this is a reminder, I did not put any form of food colorings into this. And so, if you following this recipe as is, using this sweet potatoes and then along with the brown sugar, you're going to get this color. And so, in my opinion, you don't need any form of food coloring. And so, what I'm going to do is go ahead and finish filling these cupcake liners. I've already preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and they're gonna bake for about 20 to 22 minutes, or until you stick a toothpick through the center of one of the muffins and it comes out clean. And so we'll be back when we start making our cinnamon honey butter glaze. All right, y'all. So most of our muffins are done. We have a few more that's still in the oven, but before we take those out, we're gonna go ahead and make this honey butter cinnamon glaze. So what I did was melted a half stick of unsalted butter. I'm adding in my honey, just enough to make it thick, and then we're gonna add in our cinnamon. And so, in my opinion, I think that this is a great addition to the muffins. You don't actually have to make this and put this on top of the muffins, but I think that this is actually just puts the icing on the cake. And so, I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, and then we're going to come back when I start spreading this on the top of the muffins. All right, family. So we're gonna have to glaze the top of these muffins with our honey butter cinnamon glaze. And so as you see, it's very thick. And so what we're gonna do is just take a spoon, drip a little of the glaze on top, and then spread it around the muffin. And so with this recipe, I actually got 30 muffins out of this. Sometimes it really just depends on how big your sweet potatoes are and how much puree you're able to make. And so with those larger sweet potatoes I did have, I was able to get about 30 muffins out of this. And so this is a recipe that you really want to save for Thanksgiving, or if you're making these for an event or you're going to have a party. That's when you'll follow the recipe as it is, because you'll be able to get quite a bit of muffins out of this. And so as you see here, I'm just glazing the top of these muffins. And so what we're going to do is cut it here, and then we're going to come back and show you the finished product. All right, family, we are done, and y'all cannot tell me that these don't look absolutely amazing. In addition to that, they're absolutely delicious, and so I recommend that you use this recipe, whether it be for Thanksgiving, any other holiday party, or just a regular Sunday dinner. Add this to your menu, and I guarantee you, y'all gonna love these muffins. And so, as I stated before, the ingredients is gonna be in the description box along with the measurements. And so, thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next video. All right, family. So that concludes this video. Thank y'all so much for supporting this channel. Thank y'all for watching this episode of King's Creations with Nick. Just to put on y'all radar, we will have at least 3 more videos posting before the end of the year. So keep your eyes out for that. But until then, thank y'all so much for your support. Love y'all, and good night from the Queen City.